Welcome to our podcast, You're Entitled to Our Opinion, where we delve into the Christian life, the Bible, and pretty much anything that's happening in the world today.
But more than just our opinion, we want to share truth that just might change your life.
Now, we don't claim to have all the answers, but we know who does. And our goal is to give him a chance to make a difference in your life.
I'm Jay Scribner.
And I'm Tom Johnson.
And you are entitled to our opinion. How's your pulse ox, big boy?
My pulse ox is excellent. 99%
Whoa.
oxygen. Right now, it's a little bit high on the pulse rate. Usually I'm 60-something. But every once in a while, it's kind of nice to keep your finger on the pulse.
Oh, listen to this.
Is that my intro for today's topic or what? Oh, how fun. But yeah, it's this is kind of a special thing. We hadn't planned on doing this until yesterday, but
we hadn't planned on America being at war.
No, that's it. But I as we were talking off camera, and we thought, you know what, this is a good time to be able to maybe bring this up, to bring this up, so that, because there's a lot of fear that's generated by the media and by circumstances.
Sure, there's fear and unknown.
And that's the thing, is that there's some unknown things that we can bring up today. I think that'll alleviate some of that fear.
Yep, that's good. So obviously we're going to be talking about the Iranian war that's going on right now. And so that's what we're going to spend this 30 minutes sharing about, and doing our best to not only cover some data, but we want to look at this from a spiritual perspective as well. What's going on, if anything, spiritually.
Right.
And there is something going on spiritually. You better believe that.
And how we as believers should respond to situations like this.
That's good.
We brought it up before, and we'll remind you again. So let's get into it. We have this Iranian...
I had written on my notes here, this may not be the end of the world, but perhaps you can see it from here.
And that's
so
true.
Are we getting close?
We are getting close. And I love the fact that the quote that you brought up of Benjamin Franklin in our notes.
That's a good one. Read that.
I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of man.
That's a good quote.
And I love the word governs, because we know and we want to encourage God is sovereign. None of this takes him by surprise. In fact, he's got a book that tells us about stuff like this. And we're going to get to it as we get into this Iranian conflict.
You know, I've made a statement before, Tom, that the Trinity has never had to call an emergency session. I love that statement.
I do too. That's awesome. Well, it's since Saturday. Last Saturday. There's been some serious activity over in the Middle East, and the U.S. calls this Operation Epic Fury, but the Israelis, they call it Operation Lion's Roar. And what this is a joint effort between the United States and Israel to handle the situation in Iran, which is kind of coming up to a top. And this is not necessarily in reaction to, but to keep things from steamrolling ahead.
Really going on the offensive.
There you go.
Yeah,
let's deal with that. You know, the attacks over, was it 500 to 900 targets have been hit in that. And the biggest thing is the leader.
And that was in the early waves of the attack.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Back on Saturday the 28th.
Yes, and within about 48 hours, the leader, Khomeini, was killed, along with a number of the regime there.
They're saying 49 other leaders. Diplomatic leaders within Iran, as well as the IRGC leadership.
Well, and you know, we don't dance in the street that somebody is killed. It's a sad thing that someone has to be removed from leadership. But what's been happening in the Iran culture has been so devastating, not only to Iran itself, but to the world, but especially in Iran. Since the removal of the leadership, there has been rejoicing in the streets in the Iranian culture.
That's right.
With over 35,000 people killed within the last year or so, there's been so much turmoil in that nation that this looks like a step forward. That's what we're praying for.
Well, that is. However, I just read about an hour and a half ago that the leadership in Iran has now voted to put Khamenei's son in charge. And so, wow, is this going to be a chip off the old block here? That's going to be as bad or maybe even worse? I don't know. I haven't read anything about him. Yeah. I just saw that as the headlines.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very
and
interesting.
And that's just within the last hour and a half of my reading. So sometime today, that is what took place.
Okay.
Now, just for some data, and again, people have been watching, been keeping up with this, I'm sure, or I hope anyway, because this is such a major event going on worldwide, in a worldwide scope of this, that it is important, and we'll talk more about that when we get toward the end of our podcast.
Right.
But it is important that we remain informed. So here's just some basic data. The U.S. leaders said that the campaign aims to degrade Iran's ballistic missile and nuclear capabilities. I'd say with all the hits that they've had since that first wave, they've made a major impact with that.
Right.
Also to dismantle parts of its military infrastructure. And again, that has happened. They've destroyed much of their Navy, as well as lots of rendering incapable to have nuclear capabilities and to precipitate regime change.
Right.
Well, that all is internal from a regime change standpoint. So again, we're just going to have to hide and watch regarding that. The Israeli leadership declared the strikes necessary to counter what it says is an existential threat posed by Iran's missile, nuclear, and proxy networks. Well, man, for decades, Israel has been a setting duck, a target for Iran and others that want to destroy them. And so we can understand very keenly why Israel would want to make this move.
Well, and talk about finger on the pulse. Israel has the finger on the pulse in the Middle East. We as Americans are so separated geographically that we only hear what we're told. And so the one thing that I really appreciate is the fact that Israel is making a stand for itself, but also for the other nations around. Because, and what you just said, the dismantling of the military and things like that, when the U.S. and Israel made the first strikes, it wasn't an hour before the retaliatory strikes came out of Iran. They were so ready with their finger on the button to do what they had planned to do that they responded immediately.
That's true.
And so that's how we know that Iran was becoming a greater threat. And so it's something that we as Americans need to be very careful of when we're looking for information, that we get good quality information. And so going to the source, I think, is vitally important.
You know, it's interesting, or it has been interesting to me, that Iran's counterattacks were not, they were directed toward Israel, but they were also directed at other countries in that region. I just find that very interesting, and not sure what the motive has been there. I think maybe they were hoping that these other countries, as they were drawn into this, would blame the United States and Israel. But they were being attacked by Iran.
Well, and as I was reading, some of the countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and others, they have military bases, United States military bases in their country.
Right.
And so these attacks were primarily against the U.S., but it encompassed the collateral damage of supposedly should be Iran's allies as in the Muslim country. But Iran has become so militarized and so aggressive that they are actually offending what you just said. They're offending the countries that should be their allies. And in fact, just something that I read this morning, Great Britain, who has taken a stand back and watch attitude, their F-35s in the last 24 hours have been shooting down Iranian drones, military drones, with their F-35s.
From Great Britain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And over Jordan, over Lebanon, they're shooting all of these down. This is the first time the F-35s that Britain has ever been engaged in warfare.
Wow.
But they've chosen, instead of just to sit back, to defend.
That's great.
And that, to me, I just thought that is so cool that a country, our allies, would at least do that much. Now, Iran's allies, China and North Korea, as I read this morning, they're doing a sit back and wait.
Hands off time.
Hands off.
Sure.
But one thing that's coming out of North Korea is you need to talk. You need to talk. And I'm wondering who they're talking to when they say you need to talk, because I believe from what I was reading, it's we need to stop the aggression against Iran and pick up talks. Well, Iran doesn't want to talk.
Exactly.
We've been trying that for the longest time, and it doesn't work.
Exactly. They're non-responsive. And even if they do respond, you can't believe them.
Right.
You can't trust them. Now, here's an item. It's been predicted that if this attack did not take place by Israel and the United States, that Iran was poised and ready to precipitate their own attack upon these two nations that Iran detests and vehemently hates. Iran had an immediate response, as you pointed out, of retaliation. It launched a widespread ballistic missile and drone attack targeting Israel and these Gulf states, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. And I've got a personal interest there, Tom. My oldest son is in the UAE.
Oh, okay.
Well, I called him immediately to check on him. And he said, well, let me send you a picture or two. And looking out his hotel window, he sent me a couple of pictures of missiles and bombs that had been gone off, that had been shot off out his motel window.
Wow.
So I've got a personal interest in this myself.
Well, I don't want to one-up you at all, but I got a telephone call from my sister yesterday. My niece's husband is in the military, an hour away from Bahrain.
Okay.
And so, yes, we have this, and that's why we're praying, God, I'm so glad you're sovereign. Keep your hand over them, because, and again, we're talking what you just said. I was looking down in our notes, the sleeper cells within the United States, they have been also targeted. They've ramped up, our government has ramped up the surveillance and the security and finding these sleeper cells. And there have been some deported back to Iran who have been here in the country. So, I mean, it's happening over there, but we kind of need to be aware so that we understand what's happening here.
Yes, we definitely need to be aware. And I appreciate you bringing up the sleeper cells. Boy, we don't know where they are. And the potential danger internally in the United States and other countries is very, very prominent for us. So we really need to be alert to that.
Right. And we're seeing an interesting America response to the situation. And something that I read yesterday, it was a comparison, is that the ladies in the burqas are now throwing them off and dancing in the streets in Iran. And here we have liberals who are protesting what's happening in Iran, the freedom of the women that are there. And it's like, wait a minute. Okay. And I don't follow this news comedian, but he says something in passing. He said, all right, American women, if you're going to do these protests, put on the burqa and go shopping for an hour. And I guarantee you'll throw that thing off and be dancing in the streets with them. It's such a twisted mentality sometimes where people get this information and then they run rampant with it, not really realizing what they're doing, what they're saying. There's so much confusion, and that's the enemy. That's not God's plan.
Right.
The enemy is a purveyor of confusion.
Now, need to point out that there's also been the shutdown of the for navigational traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, and that has already affected us.
Oh my, has it?
20 to 25% of the world's oil and gas consumption comes through those navigational waters. And so just this morning when I went to fill up my car, we were already jacked up 40 cents from what it had been 24 hours ago.
Yeah. Again, that's that reaction. And the Wall Street, the whole stock thing, I don't completely understand their mentality there, but it is very reactive. And so there was an anticipation that could go on, and we could go from 40 cents to $1.40 a gallon.
Sure.
And so this morning, I was looking at the Dow, that there has been an easing of the tension, of the fear. But it's very interesting what I read, too, is China gets a lot of their oil through that strait.
Exactly.
And so it's affecting not only the countries that are immediately involved, the ripple effect is gonna be felt for a while.
It definitely is. All right. Well, there are lots of factors that we could probably point out. What we've done the last several minutes is to point out just some basic data of it.
Right.
Let's shift gears, if you don't mind, Tom.
Oh, please do.
And we need to remind ourselves that history is his story. I love that statement.
I do too.
History is his story. And so we need to be keenly aware of that God is sovereign. Aren't you glad of that?
I'm so glad of that.
And we count on the fact that God is unfolding his end time plan on his own schedule. So while you step back and you look at the data, you look at the facts, you look at what's going on, you might be anxious, you might be concerned. We definitely need to be informed. We need to be praying, and we'll talk about more about that here in just a few moments.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, it's God's timetable. God hasn't been caught off guard.
Right.
It's his end time plan. And while we don't know all the facts and figures of it, we can know that God is sovereign. And we need to always see the hand of God in the rise and fall of rulers and nations. So does what we're seeing unfolding right before our very eyes in the Middle East right now have anything to do with Bible prophecy? I'm convinced that it does.
Absolutely.
I don't know exactly how to describe it all, but I'm gonna share some things here over the next couple of minutes.
Go ahead.
That would encourage our listeners today to do their own study, to do their own research. And I'm by no means a Bible prophecy expert, but in fact, God does give us a lot of insight in His Word regarding the end times. And I'm convinced that we are indeed living in the perilous times of the end times. So let me pose just some biblical perspectives, and I'm just purely doing this to encourage people. Do your own research. Do your own study. Ask your own questions. So here are 3 or 4. Is this Iranian invasion related to Jeremiah chapters 49 to 51? This is a prophecy against Elam, E-L-A-M. And Elam was an ancient kingdom located in what is today southwestern Iran.
Interesting.
And so E-L-A-M, Jeremiah 49 to 51. And this prophecy speaks of Elam's bow being broken and a dispersion among nations. There are different prophetic and historical perspectives and arguments regarding that. But as you read these particular chapters, they have to do with God's judgment upon Elam.
Okay.
All right, so do your own research on that. Jeremiah 49:51. Here's another question. Perhaps this is the launch of the Psalm 83 war. That's a whole other podcast, Tom, to be honest with you. But Psalm 83 describes a confederacy of nations, and the more that I see Iran drawing in other nations, I'm beginning to see some of the same historical regions that are identified for us in Psalm 83.
Wow.
And it is believed that Iran is the sponsor behind such a coalition.
Okay.
So, how does that fit in? All right, so now we
going.
need to be studying Jeremiah 49 to 51. We need to be studying Psalm 83. And next question is, could this be the unfolding of the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war?
Okay.
That is very, very prevalent within prophetic history and end time studies. Now, I would say to you, this is not the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, but I think I also would go on record to say, I think it's probably a John the Baptist perspective. It's leading the way. It's opening the door for Ezekiel 38 and 39.
Okay.
So, once again, study that, and there are 5 key components that are identified for us there, and those are factors, national factors, that should claim our attention to ask ourselves that.
Okay. With that being said, how do we then, as believers, respond to this situation?
Great.
Because I'm looking not only that far, but into Matthew. Jesus was talking about the end times.
Oh my!
But the cool thing is what?
And he starts that by saying, "Don't be deceived."
That's the thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Don't be deceived and don't be afraid.
Good.
Those 2 things for believers, if we will get into the Word and hear His Word to us, those 2 things will set us free from fear, anxiety, and confusion that seems to be gripping so many people.
That's good.
So let's walk through how should we then live.
That's good.
Okay?
So as Christians, I've jotted down 6 things. There might be 60.
Probably.
But if we'll focus on these 6 things, they'll help us navigate these waters.
Okay. Number one.
Number 1, be prepared. Now, what does that mean? Well, if we're in fact living in the end times, and there are wars and rumors of wars, how should we be prepared? You choose how you want to be prepared, but I want to encourage you, don't neglect spiritual preparedness.
Absolutely.
So be prepared spiritually first and foremost. I'm not just talking about being a preparedness freak to store stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. To be honest with you,
that's not freaky, but it's wisdom.
Be prepared.
Be
Number
prepared.
1,
right?
And especially spiritually.
Go. That's
Number
good.
2, be praying. Be praying. This ought to put us on our knees. Should have been there to begin with, but it ought to put us on our knees. This is a worldwide conflict, and it definitely affects the United States. We're in the middle of it. And be praying. We need to be praying for God's protection, for God's wisdom, for God's security, and for God to give direction to those that are making decisions.
Good. That's good.
But we need to be praying. Praying for ourselves, praying for our nation, praying for people that are lost.
Yep.
All right, here's number 3. Be hopeful. 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 Be hopeful. If there's anybody in this world that has hope, it should be the Christian believer.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yep.
So be hopeful. We're not sharing this podcast to try to scare anybody.
No, exact opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so be hopeful.
Be
Here's
hopeful.
number 4. Do not be afraid.
Yep.
Do not be afraid. Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 tells us, don't be afraid. For the Lord your God is with you. And no matter what's going on over there, or no matter what's going on in your face, or no matter what's going on in your front door, don't be afraid.
Yep.
Number 5, be informed. Be informed.
Okay.
Get your spiritual head out of the sand. These are times, and these are exciting times, but they're perilous times. But be informed. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So take it upon yourself to be informed. Get the right sources, because there's a lot of sources out there that probably shouldn't be believed.
Right.
But be informed. And then finally, number 6, be a witness for Christ. Be a witness for Christ. You know where you're heading. Tell others. Invite them along with you.
Right.
Be a witness for Christ.
Right. Instead of being consumed with what's happening, be consumed with what God is doing. And I love Luke chapter 21. He said, this will be your opportunity to bear witness. Settle it therefore in your minds not to meditate beforehand how to answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which none of your adversaries will be able to withstand or contradict. When we stand in faith, looking with all of the things that we've shared, this is God's plan. It's going to happen from now till Jesus comes. What do? We don't put our head in the sand. We stay informed, but not consumed. And this is the one thing. We can't be consumed with what's happening. We need to be consumed with what God is doing.
That's good. Good.
There you go.
Folks, thanks for watching our podcast. We wanted to do our best to bring us all up to date with what's going on. This is his story. And we can know that God's in charge. Our sovereign God is the one that's helping us to navigate these choppy waters.
Good.
God bless you. If we can help you in any way, reach out to us. Our faith and our hope is in Jesus Christ and in his pure word.
Amen.
God bless you. Thanks for joining us. And as always, you're entitled to our opinion.
Friends, you can contact us at yourentitled777@gmail.com. Also on Facebook.com, You're Entitled to Our Opinion. Jay's video blog, Here's Hope America, can be found on Facebook.com, Here's Hope America. Tom's blog, Durf Nerfels Thought of the Day, you can find at Facebook.com/DurfNerfelsTOTD, but also you can sign up to receive it by email on the website durfnerfel.us. Share our opinion. As with all podcasts, you, our listeners, are the way people join us as you share the podcast with them. You're Entitled to Our Opinion has been recorded at Flat Frog Studio, Hollister, Missouri.